considered inferior. The annexation of Texas and the war with Mexico had also aroused political contention. Most Whigs opposed the war, and many Northerners complained that the nation had been dragged into a war that benefited only the slave owners in the South. Internal expansionism. Having pushed to the Pacific, Americans turned inward and developed their vast domain. Triumph of the railroad. By the 1840s and 1850s, the railroad finally began to displace the canals as the cheapest means of hauling freight. Railroad construction stimulated the iron industry, but the most dramatic side effect of the railroad boom was in the area of finance. Railroads required enormous amount of capital, which were raised through new techniques such as bonds and preferred stock, and by large government subsidies. The Industrial Revolution takes off. Mass production and the division of labor transformed traditional crafts and made production more efficient. More and more work was done in a factory system, the essential features of which were the gathering of laborers in one place where they could be supervised, cash wages, and a continuous process of manufacturing. Agriculture remained of primary importance to the national economy, but even farming was becoming mechanized. In the North especially, advances in industry, transportation, and agriculture interacted to create a strong economy. Mass migration begins. In the 1840s, American industry was capable of providing hundreds of thousands of jobs, which attracted immigrants. Between 1840 and 1860, over 4 million Europeans, mostly Irish and German, came to the United States. Although many came to escape poverty, the Irish, especially most immigrants, came for the opportunity to work at higher wages. Ironically, many immigrants stayed in the port cities and gladly took low-paying jobs. Since most immigrants could only afford substandard housing, urban slums spread, inspiring efforts to reduce crime, vice, and dirt. But progress was slow. The new working class. Traditionally, women and children were factory workers. Men began to enter the factory workforce in significant numbers only in the 1840s. At that time, working conditions had begun to deteriorate. Employers were less personally involved with their laborers, and the depression that followed in 1837 induced employers to demand more work for less pay. Workers responded by organizing unions. When immigrants poured into America, they replaced Native Americans in the factories. The budding union movement was badly hurt, but the new working class did not form a docile body of employees. They represented the discipline and continuous nature of factory work and clung to traditional work habits, which to the supervisors appeared as careless work habits. The new working class also posed a problem for American ideas. It had always been assumed that working for wages was merely the first step towards becoming your own master. Now it was obvious that a permanent wage-earning working class had come into existence. Politicians like Stephen Douglas hoped to create a patriotic consensus based on a continued territorial and economic expansion. But expansion actually created conflicts between class and sections that the politicians could not control. The age of expansionism had extracted a tremendous price on the United States. External territorial expansion generated a diplomatic crisis, a war, a sectional conflict that would eventually divide the nation, while internal economic expansion fueled class and ethnic rivalries that threatened America's self-image as a land of opportunity and upward mobility.